Welcome, Amakhosi Network. Welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're going to do player ratings. We're gonna be talking Molefi Ntseki, and we're gonna be talking about what Molefi Ntseki is getting wrong, especially with the front three. This is a big point I've been thinking about, and it reminded me of what Stuart Baxter did when Keegan Dolly, Kama Billiard, and Castro eventually was signed by Chiefs, and what oh, Stuart Baxter actually did that Molefi Ntseki is actually failing to do. But anyway, let's start with player ratings. Let's get that out the way. And I'm also want to just highlight what I've been going through for the past few hours since the Chiefs game, listening to you guys and the fans in the spaces on Twitter, reading comments, the usual suspects, Wongale to everyone, who sticks or everyone. I've been listening to everyone, and there's a consensus. The consensus that Chiefs has a good team, Chiefs has good players, but we don't have coaching. That is the consensus amongst people across South Africa, not just Chiefs fans. This is Sundowns fans, Supersport fans, Pirates fans, just fans of football can even see it. Kuti Chiefs has no coaching. And I'm gonna break down a few elements of why I say Chiefs does not have coaching, just so a lot of you can understand. But yeah, let's start here, guys. Please subscribe, guys. Please, I beg of you. Please subscribe to the channel, guys. Please subscribe. We want the channel to grow. We're almost at 800. Let's push. We're almost at 1000k people who like the show. And thank you to those who have subscribed. I want to thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But let's get to the ratings. Let's rate these guys. We're even gonna give Molefi Ntseki a rating. Kune didn't have much work. He didn't have much work. One thing about Kune that, he gave me flashbacks of the old Utumelen Kune when he was doing his distribution. Oh, that thing is so lovely to watch. It's delicious. That's all I can tell you guys. That Kune distribution, it makes me warm inside. But they have to be smart players in order to utilize Kune distribution. If you're not smart, you won't be able to use it. When Kuna does that distribution, he wants you to have a quick play. But every time he did this distribution wide, they'll take their time after they trap, slow. Then I'm like, there's no point. Why did he distribute it fast to you if you're gonna be slow? Because that's how we always used to use Kune's distribution. We used to move fast. But Kune's rating, I'll give him a 6.5. He did fine. There's not much he could have done about the goal. He did his work, and the goal was Dove, basically. So 6.5. I won't say 7, but yeah, 6.5. Because at the end of the day, a keeper also has to demand his area, meaning that he should be the one shouting at Dove to check Mayo. He should be the one scanning and all those things. There's always something you can do to prevent a situation. Left back Dove, one of his worst performances. Dove gets a 4. He was misplacing passes. He considered that goal. He was doing late tackles. He was fouling people. He had a bad game, but it happens. Like, there will be players who have bad games. This just happened to be Dove's bad game. And I heard people saying sub Dove. And I'm like, guys, who are you going to sub Dove for? There was no Shanti. There was no Dylan Solomons on the bench. Because if at least Dylan Solomons was on the bench, then what could happen is that you sub Dove for Dylan Solomons and make Frosler go play on the left. That's what you could do. But with no Dylan Solomons, you can't really do that. So at that point, I was like, I understood why they put Dove. They made Dove continue, but yeah, there's nothing we can do there. Dove 4. Ditlokwe, solid performance 6. I had no issues with it. Let me say 6.5. Like, they did their jobs. They just got failed by Dove. And Jabulo Ngobo 6.5 as well. He also did his jobs, just got also let down by Udove. Frosler. Frosler today I'm giving a 5.5. 2 games in a row where the people on the right exploit you, put the cross in. One thing I'll say is that Ribeiro, found a way to put the cross in. Gonzalez found a way to put a cross in. I think they are both South Americans. They are outdoing you. You can't let someone do the same thing twice in less than a few days in beating you. Like, yeah, you can't. So in this chance that Gonzalez crossed, Frossa was just meant to force a corner. Force a corner, then we don't talk about Cape Town City goal. And then we don't know how the game turns out. But because he allowed that cross to go in, we find ourselves where we are now. So Frosler for this one, 5.5. I would have even given him a 4, but he did his job except for that one instance. But yeah, so 5.5. Tetra, I'll give a 6.5. He had a solid performance. Yes, he did lose some balls and he was a bit shaky in the beginning, but he had a solid performance. He distributed the ball, he closed down a lot of players, etc. The one thing that disappoints me about Umteto, not actually disappoints me about Umteto, but you can see his frustration in the game. You can see how frustrated Umteto is in the game. When he collects the ball in the middle, he's looking for Castillo, he's looking for Matt. They are wide behind other players. Then what does Umteto have to do? He has to pass the defenders, meaning that he has to either pass Ungobo or Ditloke or pass directly to Udove or pass directly to Frosler. He can never find Castillo and Matt. It's a struggle. It was a struggle for him to find Castillo and Matt because Castillo and Matt go and hide behind defenders on the flanks, on the wide flanks of the game. And then it makes it difficult for Umtetwa to find it because it becomes a wasteful pass. Because then Umtetwa either has to chip a Cape Town City player to find double mat or whatever. And you know, when you chip, sometimes it becomes a 50-50 ball. So Matt and Castillo, there are moments when Umteto has the ball, they have to draw Cape Town City out. They have to come, drop, even if they are just going to touch the ball back to Umteto. They must do it, draws Cape Town City out, but they sit behind in the flanks and then it's a waste. So Mteta, that's one thing I observed in the game. He tried his best to find these guys, but the only people who were open was Dove and Frosler. And that played into Eric Tinkler's plan because Eric Tinkler was like, let them cross. That's all they can do. Let them cross. And yeah. So then 6.5. Castillo. Today I'm giving Castillo a 5. Why do I give Castillo a 5? Is because I always say he becomes non-existent on the flanks. He becomes non-existent when he goes and chills on the flanks. And when he tries to come in the middle, he also finds himself with the same problem. He can only find Umtetwa or the defenders. He can't find Matt because Matt chills on the side. And on top of that, yeah, it's just like it becomes poor because then even finding that's why he enjoyed playing with Udove. Dove at least makes himself available. The others don't. Oh, and another thing I wanted to say about Dove. There are so many passes in the middle of the park that Dove missed in this game because he was too focused on this thing of theirs trying to cross. So there are so many infield passes that Dove missed in this game where he could have passed someone who just came down into the middle. That person turns, we go, we attack them. So there are those things. Um, Castillo, for this game, I give him a 5.5. We can't keep having him being ineffective. And yes, he does score the goal now and then. But when we have to analyze Castillo's full performance sometimes, we realize he's not effective until the goal. The goal changes how you view him. But yeah, and then Matt, I'm giving him, at the last game, I gave him a 2. Today, I'm upgrading him to a 4. Defensively, he did okay. But same story, loses the ball, lacks creativity. He plays the number 8 position like a number 10. I mean, the 8 position like a defensive midfield. Let me tell you why I complain about these things. I'm not a Pirate supporter. But in the days of Tico Modise, the position that Matt is playing is essentially the position that Abotiko Modise were playing, etc., etc. That is the position that they used to utilize when they had Abotiko. I think even Ukamwendo was there at that time, etc. When they were like really hot and peggering. So that is the position we are putting Matt, who is not creative, but we expect him to be that. Um, at Chiefs, who can I make an example of? Like the George Libisis of the world. There were times that Shabalala played that position as well, even though Shabalala liked his going on the flanks, but he also played an 8, etc., etc. But we are expecting Matt to do Shabalala, George Libisi kind of work. Mad, out of all players, you want Mad to play that position. You must be joking. That won't happen, guys. But anyway, Mad, I give a 4. Look, I don't have anything. I don't have any issues with Mad, but I just feel he is favored too much. Like when I say too much, I'm like, what I feel is like, and I've been watching to, if you guys ever watch this game again, can you please just go and watch Du Shabalala on the bench? The confidence in that boy compared to last season. Last season, that boy always had a smile on his face. Always had a smile on his face. Watch him this season. Just look at that bench. I want you guys to see something. Just watch him do Shabalala on the bench. He does not seem like the same player. He seems demoralized, dejected. He looks like a player who's used. And you know what's the craziest part? The players who beat Chiefs yesterday, Hudeman, Rhodes, Kanyisa Mayo, etc. What's the sad part? Du Shabalala in the DDC used to own them, put these guys in his back pocket. This was his daily bread. He used to katamula all of these guys. But now these guys were shining at Cape Town City and he sits bench. Like, can you imagine what this boy is going through? He watches people praise Uratomo, etc., Umfukeng. He's sitting bench. Like he's watching his peers shine and he knows he's better than the people who are playing at Chiefs. Like, so Molefi Ntseki would rather play Matt than play a player who deserves to be in that position, like Umtu Shabala. But anyway, Modi, 5. We can't keep having the same thing about Modi. He will give us spurts of good energy, but then he doesn't do anything. He hasn't been doing anything with the ball. Like he hasn't been doing anything with the ball. And the thing that irritates me about Umodi sometimes is that he will have one special moment in a number of games, but like the basic things that we want him to do, he can't do. Like he doesn't have assists. He's lacking. But I'll get to why I feel he's lacking that department. Dupree, Dupree, a lot of people will say 6 and what. Dupree, I'm giving him 5. He had a bad game. There's no way we can lie about that. Dupree had a very bad game. Decision making was off. Runs were off. He was isolated. Eric Tinkler's thing of doing crosses worked in their favor. Dupree was off. It was not his game. And then Saile did his best to like try and to run against the players, but yeah, off. So 5.5. And then the subs. Let me remember. Mtanzane, I didn't see him. I won't give him a rating. Um, who else played in this game? I'm sure you know when you try to think of Dolly, actually, I'll give a 6.5 because he actually tried. He made it. You know, when a player comes from the bench and you can see this one wants something to happen. That was Keegan Dolly. Keegan Dolly, I saw the effort there. I saw it. Ranga, 4. I will not protect Ranga. Ranga gets a 4. Maybe Ranga would even get a 2 if I was feeling that bad. But I understand why. Let me tell you this, guys. I understand why Ranga has a 4. He's not being played to his strengths. Chiefs does not play proper football. So for the strikers, and that's the problem. Ranga will always get a 4. Molefi Ntseki gets a rating of a 0.5. Molefi Ntseki gets a rating of 0.5. The only reason why I'm giving him a rating of 0.5 is that the only good thing he did yesterday was starting Umthetho. Other than that, he does not deserve a rating. He was outclassed. He was out everything. He was. Yesterday it felt like we didn't have a coach. It felt like we were getting coached by someone who came off the street and maybe sells cigarettes on the side and decided that he's going to be a coach for a day. Yeah, so that's what it felt like. Because honestly, at this point, I feel like we as supporters could do a much better job than this guy. This guy can't even read his team and can't even read the flow of the team. Uh, so let's get to the Molefi Ntseki issue. Molefi Ntseki does not deserve to be a Chiefs coach. We all know that, but I'll always say this. This is my defense of Molefi Ntseki. If someone comes to you and says, take the Chiefs job, what people don't realize is that if someone offers you someone offers you a job and says, take this job, chances are you're going to take it. And now a lot of people are saying Molefi Ntseki must have pride and resign. And this is what I'm going to say to a lot of those people. That won't happen. You know, when you say pride and resign, let me tell you what happened. If Molefi Ntseki's contract, let's say his contract ends in the next 2 years, and his contract in the next 2 years means that Chiefs is going to owe him 5 million. When you guys were saying he must resign, you're saying he must not get that 5 million because he will be willingly resigning. But if Chiefs want to let him go, they will pay him out, meaning they will say, Molefi Ntseki, 6 grand ngawe, take your 5 million, we're looking for another coach. That is what happens. And that is why Chiefs decided to hire Molefi Ntseki, is because Nabi wanted his staff and all of that. So now this is the business side of it. Why did Chiefs only want Nabi and not his staff? So Chiefs, when they were trying to sign Nabi, they wanted Nabi only. They didn't want his assistant coach, fitness trainer, etc. Why? Because they have this Singanga of Umuzi. They have Arthur Zwane. They have Dylan Shepherd. They have all these guys who have signed more than 3-year contracts. When you add all of these guys' salaries, I'm sure it's about more than 12 million or something like that. More than that, I'm sure. 12 million over 3 years. So, do you guys understand that if you add all of these guys and Nabi comes and says he wants to hire his people, it means that Chiefs has to let go of all their staff members that they recently signed, like now. That means that all these guys have to be let go and get given their packages, meaning that if they owe someone 3 million, they must pay him 3 million today. If they owe someone X, they must pay. So, and then on top of that, if they take Nabi staff, they now have to pay Nabi staff the packages they want. So you will end up giving like Chiefs, about Dylan Shepherd and about Skatakada, about Singanga, 12 million, and then you're still going to be paying every month the millions that you have to pay Nabi's team. That's what makes this decision difficult. That's why in the end, Chiefs chose to put Ntseki as the coach, because Ntseki was already a part of the team. So Ntseki's package did not change when he became coach. They just moved him from one position to head coach. But the payroll, nothing changed from last season. The only difference is the psychology coach that they brought and do Dinkler. Those are the only people that are the additional salaries, but the rest are the same. So that is the issue there, why they don't want to let go of Ntseki. Before I end it, and so Ntseki has to go, but like that is essentially why Chiefs does not want to let him go, because they don't want to pay. So I wanted to add this last part and say Molefi Ntseki has proven to me that he does not understand how Chiefs play. And I was comparing how Chiefs played with Baxter, both when Baxter first came to Chiefs, when he had Mandla Masango, Libisi, I forgot the other players like Abo Nkata and all of those players. Mandla Masango, Libisi, Nkata, etc. And then after that, they had Dolly, Billiard, Castro, etc. If you have to ask me, what is the difference between that time? Now we have Dupree, we have Modi, we have Saile, we have Castillo, I mean, not Castillo, we have Potsani, Mdushabalala, all these players. They all look similar to Abo Billiard, Dolly, etc. etc. And Dolly is still there. They look similar to Abo Billiard, Dolly, Mandla Masang Libis. But what is the difference between how they played against Baxter and how they're playing against Molefi Ntseki? What is the difference? Is how they set up. When I say this, I'm like, Baxter made sure that just because I said Dupree must play on the left, it does not mean that he's going to finish on the left. It means interchanging. You when you make a run as a front three, you don't just run straight where you start. That means that Saile always makes runs. If he starts on the right, he always makes runs on the right. But if you played under Stuart Baxter, you would find Saile making a run directly in the middle, or seeing him do curving runs and running, end up finding himself on the left. They played a positionless front three. That is how Stuart Baxter used to play these guys, and that is what Molefi Ntseki is missing. A positionless front three. It means that the front three, they must not limit themselves in where they play. If Dupree is on the left, it doesn't mean that he must finish the game on the left. It means that Dupree must come in the middle sometimes and then run straight up in through the middle, curve his run, and Saile same thing. But because they want to place directly in these controlled positions, they can't play the proper football, and they can't get the best out of themselves, because it's easy to track someone who doesn't move from one position. And that's what they did with Saile. Saile stays in one position. They figure out, okay, Saile is fast, let's put two players there. But if Saile is 1 minute on the right, then the next minute in the middle, then the next minute on the left, you can't track him with those players. It means that whenever they move between the lines, they become more and more difficult. And then what was Chiefs meant to do against Eric Tinkler? Chiefs, what Eric Tinkler figured, what gave us width, said we must go play wide. What was meant to happen is that we were meant to take Castillo and Matt and bring them closer, more compact in the middle, and get Dupree, Saile, and Modi to not play too wide, to actually make them come more in the center, bring them closer to the center, and then they make runs wide. They make, it's like you start from the center and you go wide. You don't just chill on the in the wide areas, because if you chill in the wide areas, you're easier to isolate. So you have to keep your movement coming in and out in the pockets, and break lines. You have to break the line, you have to play 1-2s, etc., etc. That is what was meant to happen. Obviously, I can break it down further, but yeah, the video is gonna get too long. So yeah, guys, please subscribe to the channel, and that's my review. Tell me what your ratings are.